Build, belong, grow with a super fund built for Queensland's construction industry. Proudly offering specialised insurance, a history of strong long-term returns and a commitment to members. BUSSQ, Queensland's building super.
BUSSQ Annual Members Meeting. And thank you for joining us online. My name is Chris Taylor and I'm honoured to be the Chair of the BUSSQ Board of Directors. I'd like to officially open BUSSQ's Annual Members Meeting for the 2022 financial year by firstly acknowledging the traditional custodians on the land on which we meet today and from the various lands on which you are watching from. We also pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. The purpose of this meeting is to give all BUSSQ members an overview of how the fund has performed over the last financial year and to provide the outlook for the year ahead. We will also discuss the fund's operations, key highlights, challenges and achievements, as well as providing an update on our future direction and how we plan to deliver for members. As part of this welcome and introduction to the meeting, I would take the opportunity to share a little bit about myself as the recently appointed Chair of the Board. On the 1st of July 2022, I was appointed Chair of the Board after joining BUSSQ's Board in March 2022. I bring to BUSSQ extensive experience as a builder and employer, based in Townsville but working throughout Queensland. I have chaired and sat on several boards in the construction industry and the tightly regulated education industry. This means I see BUSSQ's members on site day in, day out, and I know what it's like for members in the construction and allied industries to put in a hard day's work in what can be a tough and demanding industry. I'm also used to dealing with regulators and complying with legislation requirements as I am a lawyer and accountant. Working with the BUSSQ's experienced board of directors and executive team, I'm using my experience with the aim of ensuring your best financial interests are protected and that you enjoy the retirement you deserve. I would like to now take a moment to acknowledge and welcome my fellow directors and the executive team today and thank them for their dedication and support to BUSSQ's members' interests. The last financial year has been one of change for the fund. We increased our board to 8 members and welcomed a number of new directors. New to the current board are Ben Young, Jeff Bagley, Linda Vickers, Michael Ravbar and Paul Hick. They join existing board members Jackie Colley and Emma Eves, who has recently rejoined the board, and together we are a cohesive and experienced board with an excellent mix of industry, superannuation, legal and professional expertise that I have no doubt will continue to serve our members' interests. We have a quorum of directors present for this annual members meeting. Also present today is David Jewell, who is representing our company auditor, Ernst & Young. David has been with the firm since 1984 and a partner since 2002. He's a registered company auditor and he meets APRA's fit and proper test for insurance and superannuation auditors. Today's meeting is all about you, the member. Without you, we wouldn't exist, and our focus and purpose at BUSSQ is to improve members' retirement outcomes and make the difficult easy when it comes to their super. Members are at the centre of everything we do at BUSSQ. We are a profitable member fund with a duty to act in the best financial interests of members. Every decision and activity we undertake is based around what will be the best outcome for our members. We always strive to deliver strong long-term returns for members, offer tailored insurance for the industry and provide personalised service to help members get their super sorted and on track. This event is one of many events to be undertaken by BUSSQ this year. Our strategy is to give members the right information at the right time with access to subject matter experts and to the executive team at our various events and webinars. So please be sure to keep an eye out for when these events are announced on our website or via other member communication channels. Speaking of our executive team, today you'll be hearing from the Chief Executive Officer of BUSSQ, Damien Wills. He will be providing you with details of the fund's key highlights, challenges, achievements over the last financial year and discuss BUSSQ's future direction and plans to deliver value for members. Damien will be followed by our Chief Investment Officer, Peter Laity. Peter will provide you with an overview of investment performance over the last financial year and provide a future outlook. After hearing from Damien and Peter, we will devote the rest of the meeting to addressing your questions. If you have a question you would like answered, please use the chat box, which should be at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. It is possible that we may not be able to answer all your questions today. However, the minutes of today's meeting, along with a recording of the meeting, will be published on the BUSSQ website, and the minutes will include all the questions received before and during the meeting, along with their answers. Please note, we will not be able to answer any questions that we receive that are of a personal nature. These could be questions relating to your personal circumstances, such as a claim that is underway or requests for advice on investment choices. However, if you do have a question pertaining to your individual account, we encourage you, please contact us at BUSSQ through our usual channels. You can phone us on 1800 692 877 or emailing us at super@bussq.com.au. As with all member meetings, we are required by law to let you know that the information presented here during this meeting is general information only, and it does not take into account or consider your personal objectives, financial situation or needs. Before acting, you should review the product disclosure statements to ensure you have all the information on the relevant BUSSQ product and how it works, and consider the appropriateness of the information to your needs, or obtain financial advice tailored to your personal circumstances. The product disclosure statements and target market determinations are available on the BUSSQ website, bussq.com.au. We would also like to remind members that past performance is not a reliable indicator of future performance, and BUSSQ's quoted investment returns are net of investment fees and costs, taxes, and the percentage-based administration fee. In summary, my job and that of my colleagues on the board is to always act in the best financial interest of our members, as we aim to ensure that members retire with dignity. Delivering dignity also means delivering financial products and services that support you all the way through your working life and beyond. BUSSQ must strive to achieve this in an increasingly regulated environment where legislative change is having wide-reaching consequences in the industry. You'll hear from Damien in just a moment, but I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the entire BUSSQ team for their ongoing commitment to members, and particularly for the support they have provided for our members through the challenges of the last financial year. Most importantly, we would like to thank each one of our members for your membership of BUSSQ, and we take this opportunity to affirm our commitment to putting your interests first. Now, I'd like to hand over to Damien Wills, our Chief Executive Officer. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for that update and introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Damien Wills, and I've been fortunate enough to be the CEO of BUSSQ since the 1st of January 2021. However, before that, I was working in the fund as the Chief Operating Officer for 6 years, and before that for the fund's administration partner for 10 years. So all in all, I've spent about half my career working for BUSSQ. And what an absolute privilege it is to lead a fund that has its members' best interests at its heart and soul. I know our staff share this privilege too, and have your interests as their primary focus each day as they lace their boots to meet you at your workplace, ensure your hard-earned money is invested well, and that the services you receive in person and over the phone meet your high expectations. After achieving record returns in our MySuper option in the 2021 financial year, the 2022 financial year was certainly a challenging one for all investors around the world. Economic and geopolitical events around the world saw global markets retreat, and returns to members for the 22 year were negative for the first time since the global financial crisis. Better times will return, however, and history provides evidence of this. There are always more sunny days than rainy days in investment markets, and as a long-term investor, BUSSQ knows this to be true. Over our 38-year history, BUSSQ has delivered an average return to members of 9.29% per annum on the balanced growth super option, and that's calculated as at 30 June 2022. Superannuation is likely to be Australians' largest investment after housing and has a long-term investment horizon, even if you're retirement age, when your account balance is likely to be at its highest. The fund has seen another year of positive overall membership growth, our best superannuation contribution receipts in many, many years, and strong positive cash flow. These are all positive pointers to the sustainability and health of the fund. Not all super funds can say the same. Of course, these results are underpinned by a strong building and construction industry, an industry that is the third largest employer of Australians, and an industry that has bright prospects over the next 10 years here in Queensland as we build for the Olympics and other large-scale civil and commercial projects for our growing population. Last year we saw a change of government at the federal level, and they announced a review into some of the super laws introduced by the Coalition. The outcomes of this review are expected soon, but I expect there will be changes to make the overall super system fairer for all types of funds. The last government introduced a performance test, which is conceptually we don't have an issue with. However, amongst funds, it is causing unintended negative investment behaviours which detract from taking appropriate risks to maximise returns. With all that said, let's jump into what our key highlights, challenges and achievements were over the last financial year and what the fund is aiming for with the year ahead. So some of our key highlights. As a profit to members fund, BUSSQ is committed to growing membership and funds under management for the benefit of all members. And looking back over the last financial year, it is great to know that we're delivering on this goal as we welcomed over 8,500 new members into the fund and managed over $5.6 billion in members' retirement savings. I'm also proud to see that we're delivering on other important members in areas for the members. In particular, we continued to ensure our members received the super they're entitled to by collecting $12.6 million in late contributions on their behalf through our industry-leading arrears process. We continued to provide members with personalised service when and how they needed it, with our representatives personally answering over 56,000 queries. We continued to offer competitively tailored insurance for high-risk jobs, which many other funds may not cover. We continued to deliver strong long-term returns for our members, and we continued to go the extra mile by travelling to work sites and workplaces where we held over 468 information sessions that helped members and their employers sort their super. We're proud of these achievements, and it highlights how we're constantly focusing on delivering value to our members. But I must admit, it didn't come without its challenges, as the past year did test BUSSQ and the entire superannuation industry. Most notably in 2022, we saw a number of Australian businesses experience an increased level of cybercrime activity and some data breaches. For BUSSQ, data security remained a top priority over the last year and continues to be a top priority. We, along with our partners, pride ourselves on taking strong measures to keep fund and member data safe and secure. We recognise that the personal information we manage on behalf of our members is some of the most valuable and important information we hold, and we take this responsibility seriously. Over the year, we have continued to work closely with our service providers to keep up with evolving security threats, maintain strong controls, and ensure our member data remains safe and secure. We're confident our best practice protocols and security measures provide an appropriate and proportionate response in the current environment. Another challenge faced by BUSSQ and the industry was the government's Your Future, Your Super reforms, which came into effect on the 1st of July 2021. The reforms required the superannuation industry to improve its efficiency, transparency and accountability. Under the Your Future, Your Super reforms, the Australian Prudential Regulation Authority, or APRA, is required to conduct an annual performance test for MySuper products. The assessment under the performance test, in conjunction with the ATO's Your Super comparison tool, is intended to hold superannuation funds to account for underperformance through greater transparency and increased consequences. Members will be pleased to know that BUSSQ's MySuper product passed this test for the second time it has been conducted. In addition to passing APRA's annual MySuper performance test, BUSSQ completed its member outcomes assessment. This assessment showed how BUSSQ's super and income account products compared to other funds in the industry. We conducted the assessment across such areas as our investment returns, level of investment risk, and fees and costs. I'm pleased to say that we performed well, and a summary of the assessment can be viewed on the BUSSQ website. In further support of enhancing member outcomes over the year, we developed our retirement income strategy. The requirement to develop a retirement income strategy is intended to keep the superannuation industry aligned and held accountable. BUSSQ's retirement income strategy will play a pivotal role for our fund going forward to ensure we're helping our members who are approaching or in retirement to maximise their expected retirement income, manage expected risks to the sustainability and stability of their expected retirement income, and provide flexible access to expected funds during retirement. The retirement income strategy now forms a key part of BUSSQ's overall strategic plan, which aims to improve member outcomes on cost, investment performance, products and service. A summary of the BUSSQ retirement income strategy is available to view on our website. So what is next for BUSSQ? Looking at the year ahead, our core focus will be to improve investment returns for members and to ensure we are talking to members of all ages about how to maximise their super savings. We have already seen improvements on our short-term investment returns this financial year, and our ambition is to continue this journey. BUSSQ employs an active investment management style where we are actively working on our overall investment portfolio every day with our investment managers. Last year, 7 of the top 10 funds for performance employed active management styles. These funds also tended to be smaller funds, as mega funds have increasingly internalised their investment operations, functions and embraced passive investing, chasing moderately indexed returns in equities. Our Chief Investment Officer, Peter Laity, will provide more detailed insights into our investment performance, approach and future outlook shortly. Another key focus for BUSSQ in the year ahead will be to continue to take the time to provide a high level of personalised service to our members when and how they need it. We aim to offer a range of expert assistance at members' work sites, in their home, over the phone or in our office. It's our service to members that BUSSQ prides itself on. We were built by and for the building, construction and allied industries in Queensland, and as a smaller fund, you are not just a number, as may be the case in larger funds. We are passionate about ensuring workers in these industries receive the very best service in the market to achieve their retirement dreams. Lastly, I'd like to thank all of our loyal members for your continued support of your fund and look forward to delivering further positive outcomes for your retirement savings in the coming year. I'd now like to welcome and introduce our Chief Investment Officer, Peter Laity, to provide an update on BUSSQ's investment performance and outlook. Thank you.
Thank you, Damien. Welcome, everyone. My name is Peter Laity, and it is a privilege to be the Chief Investment Officer at BUSSQ. I joined BUSSQ last July and have over 20 years' experience in superannuation and have held senior roles at some of Australia's largest superannuation funds. For today's meeting, I will cover an investment recap from the last financial year, discuss how BUSSQ has performed over that year, highlight what we're doing in the responsible investment space, and give a year ahead outlook on markets and our investments. Investment market performance over 21-22 period was disappointing. Rising inflation, rising interest rates and supply chain issues negatively impacted both share markets and bond markets. In the share market, there was a substantial swing in market behaviour in 22 compared with 2021. Investor confidence in share markets took a significant hit, driven by factors such as high and rising inflation, following spikes in energy, food and other commodity prices, rising bond yields and expected increases in cash from central bank intervention, the war in the Ukraine and rising political tensions between US, Russia and China, and a large sentiment drop around technology companies and their growth prospects given the inflation outlook. When we look at how share markets have performed over the long term though, we can see in this slide it gives better context how the current market fall we experienced in comparison to other market correction events that have occurred, such as the dot-com crisis in the early 2000s, the GFC in 2008-9, and more recently, the COVID pandemic. Markets hate uncertainty, and rising inflation and interest rates mean company earnings are likely to take a hit. But no one knows the extent of this or how long, if there is a slowdown, that might last. Hence, share markets have been fluctuating wildly from month to month. We saw a low in October last year. And over the long term, the share market continues to trend higher once confidence is restored. So if we look at BUSSQ's long-term performance, we can see in this graph it provides better context around our balanced growth options performance. It shows how we've performed over the past 14 years. And you'll notice that we do tend to have a negative year now and then. And there's the fact that there's only been 2 there compared to our modelling, which suggests 1 in every 5 years. Fixed interest, far from defensive. This graph's quite busy, but it's an important one to discuss. As you'll be aware, as we saw inflation become an issue, and it forced the Reserve Bank and other central banks to respond swiftly with increased interest rate rises in order to dampen demand. The blue lines are every financial year return since this index was created, which is the Bloomberg Global Aggregate. It was developed in the mid-1970s. So you can see virtually every year has been positive except for 1 in the blue lines. And the red line shows last year. And that shows the sharp and significant increases by central banks. Looking at super and TTR returns for 2021-22, we saw the cash option, our best performing option, at 0.37, whilst our defensive option was the next strongest at negative 2.11. Our balanced growth was negative 4.79. However, if we look over the 5 years, it's returned 5.48%, and over the long term, we see how our balanced growth option has performed very strongly at 8.22% over 10 years. It's a similar story in our income account returns. The best return, again, cash at 0.26, defensive at negative 1.31, with our balanced growth income producing a negative 3.82. Again, over 5 years, 5.78% and 8.89% over 10 years. Very strong performance. If we look at the fund's asset class performance over the 22 financial year, it shows why BUSSQ diversifies away from shares as both a growth and return driver. The negative share market returns on the left of that chart for the 1 year in the yellow versus the positive returns that we've had in some of our other diversifying asset classes. Our infrastructure property assets were double-digit performers, with retail and commercial property assets continually improving post-COVID, and our investments in industrial and logistics property adding the most value. Another positive result for the fund was our investment in agriculture, particularly cattle and timber, which collectively returned over 12%, almost 12% in the year. Looking forward, we will continue to maintain a diversified portfolio of investments, seek opportunities to add value, and look to take advantage of current markets through changes to our investment strategy. Turning to responsible investing, BUSSQ's investment managers continue to make progress in their focus on sustainability. Just to give a snapshot, in property, our managers have improved waste management, improved water management, which included the installation of digital water meters and monitoring for leaks, a greater use of renewable energy, an improvement on energy, water and material efficiency, which included shopping centres, continued upgrade of LED lighting, and data analytics and plan optimisation to ensure that energy usage was being minimised. In our agricultural portfolio, all of our managers have been benchmarking their greenhouse gas emissions and identifying ways to reduce emissions and capture carbon. Some have made net zero by 2050 commitments, particularly for the pastoral assets, including an interim target of 30% reduction in both carbon and methane. These include lower carbon feed initiatives, as well as renewable energy being installed on the pastoral assets. Our vineyard, Duxton Vineyards, has become the largest sustainably certified vineyard by Fresh Care Australia wine industry standard as of sustainable practice in viticulture and winemaking. Now let's look ahead to what we can expect. As we know, the global economy recovered well post-COVID. However, it has been going sideways since, but had remained quite strong. However, more recently, leading indicators have begun to roll over, suggesting a slowdown. Within inflation, we've started to see the impacts of years of easy fiscal and monetary policy flowing through to the economy. Global supply bottlenecks such as China lockdowns, the impact of the war in the Ukraine and the energy prices have been contributors to higher inflation. It appears that inflation will remain high for some time, particularly as workers demand wage rises to help balance their own budgets. Given the higher inflation, bond yields are also likely to stay high. As I said, central banks continue to increase interest rates to curb inflationary pressure through demand, while supply issues continue to increase prices. We saw the Federal Reserve raise rates by only 25 basis points recently, and that followed 4 lots of 75 basis point rises in 2022. They also increased only by 50 basis points in December. However, their target range of 4.5 to 4.75 is the highest we've seen since October 2007. Similarly, we've seen with the Reserve Bank also temper its rate rises down to 25 basis points. They moved again in February to 3.35%, and that made the ninth consecutive rate rise by the Reserve Bank. The tempering in rate rises by the Reserve Bank reflects the higher transmission mechanism of interest rates in the Australian economy compared to the US, and also that the Reserve Bank doesn't want to overshoot and induce a recession. In terms of geopolitical tensions, the threat of short-range tactical nuclear strike by Russia is real, but it is unlikely as that could escalate into a full-blown conflict. Continued trade wars are likely, as the trade war with China is popular among voters and Republicans in the US and is likely to win Biden political capital. If we turn to our own portfolio and the changes that we've made over the years, we've looked at our portfolio structure, and every year we set our strategic asset allocation. And each quarter we assess with our investment advisor the allocations to those based on the changes in economic outlook. Over the last 12 months, we have reduced our exposure to Australian international shares as well as to property. We have increased our exposure to infrastructure and opportunistic debt. As an outworking of this, we have also increased our cash position. In the last 6 months since I've joined BUSSQ, we have reviewed almost every asset class, and we have made a number of changes. This includes the introduction of a new niche infrastructure manager who specialises in bespoke energy solutions for industry. We've also introduced new managers in Australian equities, international equities and emerging markets. And those managers should provide a more balanced portfolio and also bring greater resilience to the asset classes. And we expect those asset classes will do better in poorer economic conditions. Looking at the first part of 2023 financial year, despite increased volatility, shares have come back strongly, as you can see in this slide. Our balanced growth option has also come back strongly, as you can see in this slide, to the end of January 23. Strong share market performance since the October lows, coupled with the improvement in bond returns, account for the majority of the improvement. Overall, we're performing quite well in the first 7 months of the new financial year, which is pleasing to see. That brings me to the end of the formal part of our annual members meeting. We'll now move to the Q&A session, where we'll answer questions submitted online from our members. So I'd now like to welcome and hand over to BUSSQ's Executive Manager, Member Engagement, Lee Mackay.
Thank you, Peter. Welcome, everyone. My name is Lee Mackay. I'm the Executive Manager of Member Engagement, and I will be facilitating the questions and answer session for today's annual members meeting. Our panel of directors, executives and auditor will be delighted to answer any questions you might like to ask. If you have a question you would like answered, please use the chat box at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Please note, as we will be unable to answer any questions relating to your personal account or personal situation. If you do have a personal question, please contact us on 1800 692 877 to discuss. Otherwise, a BUSSQ member will contact you shortly. It is possible that we may be unable to answer all your questions today. However, the minutes of today's meeting, along with a recording of the meeting, will be published on the BUSSQ website. The minutes will include all questions received before and during the meeting, along with the answers. So with that said, let's begin with the questions that have been submitted thus far. The first question have been asked is BUSSQ still resisting any takeover pressured by the larger funds? I'll invite our Chair, Chris Taylor, to answer this question.
Thank you, Lee. Good question. As directors, it's obviously our duty to do what is in the best financial interest of our members, If there was a merger offer that did deliver benefits to members, we would obviously consider that. What I can confirm, though, is that since I've been chair, there has been no formal or informal request for a merger by either a large fund or a small fund, for that matter. This signifies to me that there's certainly the idea of mergers providing substantial benefits to members has possibly not been the reality. Merger is not a strategic direction of our current board, and we believe that what BUSSQ delivers for our members in service and returns is what is our best focus, and that by focusing on a merger, we would take some of the focus off delivering better member outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. The next question that we have received, were there any plans to start a low-interest housing loan scheme for members? I'll ask our CEO, Damien Wills, to respond. Thank you, Damien.
Thanks, Lee, and thanks for the question. I can certainly understand where that's coming from with inflation currently escalating in Australia and interest rates certainly on a sharp increase. But I have a reasonably short answer to that question because superannuation funds such as BUSSQ are currently not permitted to lend money to members in respect of housing. So until that changed as an investment vehicle, we'd be unable to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Damien. Now we're just going to take a small moment to check if there are any more questions submitted online. Please stand by and we'll be back just in a moment. Thank you. Thank you. Now we have received one question. Is it within BUSSQ's forecasted budget to employ more field officers to visit and support the construction industry? I'll ask Damien Wills to answer that question. Thank you, Damien.
Thanks, Lee, and thanks again for the question. It's a good question, and our board has recently completed their annual board strategy day in February, and the issue of resourcing within the fund is certainly something that we'll be working on and bringing back to the board in the next months. It's a good problem to have if you've got lots of demand for new members and servicing members in workplaces, on sites everywhere, and if so, then BUSSQ will certainly look to respond so that we're continuing to offer those services to members. Thank you.
Damien. So that's the last question that we've received online. So what we might do now is close the session. So I'd just like to thank Chris and Damien for answering those questions. This now concludes our annual members meeting for the financial year of 2022. I'd like to thank the Chair, the Directors, Speakers and of course our BUSSQ members. Thank you again for joining us today for the BUSSQ Annual Members Meeting.